Good evening, Pleiadian sisters here.
Good evening. Thank you for coming.
It's our pleasure. How may we serve you this evening?
What is this purple plate thing that Tesla came up with? Does it work, and how does it work?
It is an energy conductor.
Takes energy out of the air, so to speak, and conducts it into whatever is on the plate.
Yes, it is a conducer.
So
conductive energy.
So sleeping on one of these would be good at increasing one's energy?
Yes, if you can sleep. It will increase your energy.
And so, but maybe...
It can also create energetic portals.
So I keep hearing all these things about energetic portholes. So what would be the benefit to creating an energetic porthole for somebody like me who doesn't...
A portal is a doorway into another realm of time and space.
Yes, but if I don't know how to use it, if I didn't know one, if I saw one, and it wouldn't be a good idea for me, not understanding these, to go through one.
That is correct.
Then it's not something I should be messing with. Is that correct?
Well, that is the reason why this vessel chooses not to use mind-altering substances. There are many who induce energetic portals through mind-altering substances. However, this vessel chooses to let the portals open naturally, as naturally occurring phenomenon.
But the profile plate would be beneficial if you just wanted to use it for energy sometimes.
Yes.
Okay.
It is good for reviving or the revivification of foods, sources, and water as well.
Is that the same thing as pyramid power?
Yes. It's very similar.
So where did Tesla come from? How did he become a genius? He must have incarnated from some other planet that's farther ahead than the Earth.
Tesla is a good example of a being who had a soul who had increased in positive polarity until there was no new territory, we would say, for polarizing more positively. And so in order to evolve onward from that point, decided to reach back in time to his higher self in past lives and assist his soul from past lives in a more accelerated evolution. And so Tesla was the embodiment of, closely guided by his higher self from the future, similar to Bashar and Darryl Anka, you see? And also similar to your wife, being influenced by Judah, and also by ourselves, yes. So to state it a little differently, sometimes when a soul has reached an enlightened state and has exhausted the potentials for experimenting with positive polarity and positive experiences, they may then redirect their attention to their past life self in a more unevolved state, and they may reach back in time to assist the self, the prior self, in its evolution.
Are there many of those on the planet right now?
Who are being influenced in this way? This is a common, relationship that channelers have with the entity they channel. Yes. And yes, this is common for a phenomenon of when you find a particular human who is doing very extraordinary things, they seem to be out of place, out of time, far beyond the scope of what humans, typically the levels that of consciousness and intelligence that humans typically attain to. They may be one under the influence of this phenomenon.
Well, it seems like, especially as far as Tesla goes, it's very hard for them to make much of a change. It seems like there's lots of energy, lots of people.
Tesla would not have attained to nearly the achievement and level of understanding, wisdom, consciousness he attained to without the assistance of his higher self.
Yes, but it seemed like a lot of the things that he could have done, he was unable to do because he didn't have people on his side or people that wanted him to succeed.
Yes, that is right. Of course, his future enlightened self, being out of time and not well received.
Was that the same case with Royal Rife?
Yes.
So it seems like the theory behind Royal Rife rings true, but yet there's a lot of companies making these Rife lights and they don't seem to do that much. Now there's a Dr. Todd Overzinski, or whatever his last name was.
Overkitis.
Who seems to be a medical genius, who I talked to one time, and he said they're just not powerful enough.
That's right.
Can we not figure out how to make one powerful enough now?
Well, there are restrictions placed on the manufacturing that limit the scope of the devices under the guise of safety protocol, which has some merit, we would say, because such powerful devices in the hands of the wrong person could be dangerous or misdirected in harm, either intentionally or unintentionally. So these lights and also some other energetic devices, you could compare them to, we will use fire as a metaphor. Fire can be very healing and warming and helpful, and also very destructive.
Yes, but that didn't stop us from making nuclear bombs, did it? So we're not afraid to take powerful things and turn them into weapons instead of healing devices.
Well, there are a lot of things happening of which you are not aware.
I know.
And there are many miraculous healing devices currently in play in Western medicine. And the Greys have been very instrumental in the research and development of these tools. And they save many, many lives.
Why don't they show us how to cure cancer?
Well, there are devices which are curing cancer and various treatments.
Yes. But a lot of the treatments we use in this country do a lot of damage to the body.
Yes, however, these treatments are in the process of being phased out and replaced by wiser protocol.
Yeah, good.
Be careful in your understanding, experience, and judgment of various treatments and protocols that you leave room for the possibility of new things which are on the horizon.
Yes, I know. I definitely have a prejudice. It's just...
your resistance to these things, you may find that they hold in their hand the solution for healing,
Yes,
the
well,
very one that you desire.
well, I will have to say, okay, so there is some truth to that, but there is also some truth that I have spent tens of thousands of dollars on different equipment trying to find something that did work significantly enough to help people. And I did get open heart surgery, even though I don't know. I guess I was just upset that I couldn't heal myself. But anyway, I did go through that. So it's just weird that 25% of all Americans will get cancer. That just seems like, no, 50%.
The problem is not that the cancer cannot be healed. The problem is that it is so pervasive. And this is the issue that we would most like to address, which is the pathway to cancer.
Not the things that we normally talk about, stress and toxins and things.
Yes, of course. But talk is cheap. Well, we would say that humanity is not learning their lessons.
Right, okay.
Around stress, around lifestyle, around their drivenness and performance orientation, and needing and wanting more, and lack of sharing and concern for others, compassion, community, and so on. Simply not learning their lessons.
Yes.
That is all, not learning their lessons.
Yep.
And so the cancer will, and other diseases will continue on until there's change. And a gift we would say of cancer is that it is a wake-up call for so many. And we would say that it is generally an effective wake-up call.
And the other thing is, if we do heal that one, then we'll just create another one until we learn. Is that right? We'll just create another disease. We just keep creating new diseases because we're not learning from the ones we have.
Yes, it is simply well, there is a childishness about humanity to continue on in a vein that brings harm and to no good end. And as we said, not learning from the obvious.
Yes.
And this is the fruit of unconsciousness.
So do I remember correctly that in the fifth and higher dimensions there is no disease? Is that true?
Yes. Well, when one has resolved their karma and lives from a place of self-mastery, there is no disease. Disease of the spirit and of the emotions of the mind is what causes diseases of the body. We wish that there were a system in which one was, well, since your way of thinking and being, primarily we're speaking now about the majority of humans,
Yes.
live from a perspective of pain and pleasure, reward and punishment. And so it would be more advantageous for that bulk of humanity to be rewarded for being healthy. For instance, being paid a financial payment or reward of some sort for being within healthy weight ranges, healthy body fat ranges.
Not smoking.
Rewarded for not ingesting chemicals and other harmful substances and so on. And if this were to be the case, you would likely find major shifts in the health of humans.
How about on the fourth dimension? Do they have disease still?
No, there is no disease in the fourth dimension of positively polarized souls in the fourth dimension. Now, in fourth dimensional constructs that are negatively polarized, there is a lot of pain, physical, mental, and emotional pain and torment. There are people who experience the fourth dimension as hell and people who experience it as heaven. And there are people who experience it in various shades in between those two.
What they believe is afterlife is what they create. If they believe in hell, then they'll create hell.
Well, we wouldn't say it's the result of their beliefs. We would say it is a result of their level of consciousness. So if they die in a level of consciousness of guilt and shame, they will likely remain in fourth density, a dimension of guilt and shame, which might translate then to your understanding of hell. You see. And there are some who make significant evolutionary moves upward in consciousness in death. But that is more likely for those who are, we will say, nearing a more positive polarity or standing on the precipice of a positive polarity, may sometimes be close enough to a tipping point to evolve upwards. But those in very lower realms of consciousness will tend to recreate that same level of consciousness in the fourth density. So if one dies with a lot of guilt and shame and an interior belief that they need to be punished for some reason, they will likely create this sort of punishment in the fourth dimension.
So I was a little bit puzzled there about Aaron talking about positive and negative and all, and I was thinking, you know, he was talking about making the positive choice and going the positive direction, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm thinking, but we're not supposed to judge anything. So if there's two possibilities, we're not supposed to judge that one is positive and one is negative. I don't think. So does that mean that we don't judge? Just our level of consciousness leads us to the one that turns out to be more positive?
Please state the question in a different manner.
Okay, so there was a couple of things tonight talking about positive, becoming positive or negative, and negative will hit a ceiling at some point in time or whatever. But from what I understand, we're not supposed to judge anything as being negative or positive. So if there were two possibilities of something for us to do, one was negative and one was positive, would we judge and think, oh, that's negative and that's positive, so let's go with the positive? Or would it just strictly be because of our level of consciousness, we would pick the positive one because it just matched more with our level of consciousness? Not necessarily because it was positive, because we love people, so we pick. If there's two options and one helps somebody and one hurts somebody, we're going to pick the one that helps somebody, not because we're judging negative and positive, just because of our level of consciousness.
Well, there is a momentum. Positivity has a momentum that negativity does not.
Oh.
And so there is a positive momentum, a momentum that happens that pulls you towards love and service and giving of yourself. And so it's not that you're judging others for choosing something different, but that your momentum is towards, so think of it as an energy, rather than a choice or a mental state or a judgment. So the positivity is a polarity that has momentum that draws you towards more positivity. And at the fullness of, the full habit, when your soul fully inhabits this positivity, this positive polarity, then it is the end of karma for you, you see.
Okay, yes.
And you enter into only light. And so it's not that you're judging negativity, but simply it is not the momentum that you have created, you see.
Okay,
and so there is a point where your positivity, it is a point also that this vessel has reached. There is so much positive momentum that it is easy to continue flowing into more positivity and light. And it is actually excruciatingly difficult to engage negative polarities, you see.
Yes.
Because it is it is so misaligned and out of character.
Yes, I see.
As you say. So you're not judging. People choose what they want. Those who choose negative polarities obviously suffer a lot for their choice, and it is typically not because their soul really wants to be negative, but because they have a misunderstanding that power will alleviate suffering. So when you can enlighten someone to understand that power does not alleviate suffering, but that weakness and letting go of resistance, letting go of power is actually the way that suffering is released. And if someone can have an experience of this on several occasions and make the connection that suffering is alleviated when they let go of the negative polarity, then they will likely reorient towards a more positive, redirect towards a more positive way of being, or we will say neutral. So in truth, if you want to help someone awaken and be enlightened, it is preferable to teach them how to enter a neutral space, which is what you're speaking of. Neutral, it is more, you are thinking of it as a lack of judgment. We would say it's a neutral space, you see. Neutral. And so then the negative momentum stops. There's very little momentum, we would say, towards negative polarity. Very little momentum, lots of resistance. So if one can drop that and come into the awareness of the possibility of remaining neutral and releasing, letting go, and have that experience, then it is possible then to begin to have some movement towards positive polarity.
Okay.
And as per the discussion earlier this evening, we would certainly prefer that people effort or work towards positive thinking than to allow their minds to run amok.
Yes.
And but you are speaking to a higher experience, realization that comes when one simply is and exists. We hope that helps.
Yes. Yes, it does.